Righto guys, welcome to the stream. We've obviously just restarted, so everything's going according to plan now, and we can just start the flight and continue from here on. Not sure I want to use that runway. Let's get the charts going and we'll check it out. Thanks, John. Noted. Hallo Ryan. Gaan goed met my en met jou? Yeah, I think this is the one we need. Gandalf. Not Orbit. Orbit goes to the other side, yeah. Looking for Gandalf. Awesome, Paul. Glad it's going well with you, sir. Nice to have you on stream again. Sorry for the previous short stream and all, but we just needed to get everything sorted for the actual transmission and so on. So thanks for the patience there. Right, so we've got Gandalf. Then we can also drop this other one. Where's it? Drop, go away. Don't need you. We're going to use, I think we said 9 left.
Hi, Yorkie.
9 left. Yeah, Yorkie, welcome back again. John, remember last night when we did that group flight with Cloudy? We talked about all the minimums and things like that. And I mentioned here at Atlanta, they've got this new PRM system. Can't remember what it stands for. I did a lot of reading up on it, but this is very close operations, and you have to have certified pilots and you have to have certified equipment. Otherwise, you can't fly this PRM approach at all. It was quite fascinating reading up on it because it's done to very strict requirements,
Precise.
very
Yeah, precise
precise. Yeah,
details.
yeah. Because they take off and land literally parallel to each other within obviously not very much distance. So it's very difficult, and you have to be certified for this. Anyway, so let's just take an ordinary RNAV and an ordinary ILS. I'll try to do the RNAV. If you're not here, I'm not going to bother. But if you are here, we'll try and do that. Otherwise, I've got the
I'm
ILS.
going to be in and out, Nico, on the descent.
Okay.
It's long-winded. It's only the yeah, you with me. I'm just going to be in and out, in and out.
Gotcha. Right. So I think that should be it. So we're going to use Gandalf. All right. That's. And where's this Bjorn guy? There we go. There's Bjorn. All the pop stars and movie stars. You're right. I think that should be it. Oh, come on. That's Gandalf. Then the approach changes.
Bear with him for a bit, George. He needs to get this all sorted first.
Well, we started the stream early. Usually I do all these things behind the scenes. So, I mean, now you guys are just seeing what I do before the time. So, I'll put this on screen as well. Mm. That's the one we want, Bjorn. Okay, so the trick that I've just noticed is I think you should start with your runway and then build it back, because it didn't want to give me that Gandalf with Bjorn transition until I had the right approach. Interesting. Yeah, guys, please feel free to come and go grab your coffee now. If you feel like it, obviously. I'll just continue what I do. Yeah, I need to know why that thing is doing that. Direct beyond in Gandalf. Why is it still taking that? That's the one. That's the one. Paul, precision runway monitor. Yeah, no, they've introduced all these interesting new things. Man, come on, just come right. Do it to final. No, it doesn't matter. How the hell do you get rid of that piece? I don't want that piece. Direct beyond, that's beyond. And does it cut across? Good morning, Will. This is Navigraph desktop charts that I'm using to do the actual planning. It's relatively new and it's got me stumped completely. I have no idea why it's displaying this extra piece over here from beyond directly to Gandalf, because it's supposed to run on the terminal arrival there. Don't know. Let's go back. Tampa's work. There's no issue there. Somewhere it's like something's just not updating. Not sure why. I'm pretty sure if we go out and come back in, it might have fixed itself because we want to be on the green line. Let's do this. Let's go grab another flight and come back. Hmm. Up the route. Oh, there's the problem. There's the problem. I should do this actually earlier in the problem. Don't direct beyond double entry. Oopsie. There we go. Awesome. This program, like you can see, I'm also literally still learning it. Has got so many new features and so many nice to haves. Guys, if you guys can afford either the monthly fee, I think it's $10 a month, or buy it outright, or hire it outright, whatever the term would be. For $70 a year, this is just stunning. It's amazing. Yes, George, and when you actually understand how to work it, because you can have all the tools, the best tools in the world, but if you don't know how to use it, you're still going to be looking like an idiot. So I was glad I was able to figure that one out. I must just use this type route facility a little bit more. Right, so at the bottom, we've got all our charts saved, in sequence. So we've got the airport, departure airport, Tampa. Then we've got the SID, sorry, beg your pardon, SID with vectoring. And this is also an American thing for whoever mentioned an American thing earlier. A lot of the SIDs are not actually connected to the runway. You get vectors. So you can't use your LNAV. It's not going to work. You have to either take away the vectors out of the FMC, to force a path, or you have to use your heading select. So this is a very interesting American phenomenon. You don't really get that where I fly in Europe and South Africa and places like that. They like doing things like this. So you fly for 10 minutes and then you get onto the instrument departure. Very interesting. Right, that is then our arrival from Bjorn coming in, and at that point we turn right for finals. Alright, so I think we said we're using Rayan there. Interesting, George. Yeah. And it's amazing how many simmers cannot cope with it. They are so used to flying on rails that they just can't cope. And then it's a bug, and then it's a this and the other, and then you find out they didn't understand, how to fly the aircraft. But anyway, we're not even going to go into that really now. Let's keep our cool. All right, so I've set the ILS. Come on, think about it. Right, I've set the ILS. I'm going to use that as standby, and I'm going to do the RNAV approach actually. I'm going to use that as the preferred one. And then this airport is massive. We're going to land 9 left over there, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's all Lord of the Rings and ABBA and all these famous pop stars and movie characters and things all over the place. Because if you look at the actual arrival, we start with Bjorn, uh, Gollum. Yeah, it's all these famous. Maybe Bjorn is actually also I might be thinking of the wrong guy when I think of ABBA, but anyway, so that might also be part of, it's all the Lord of the Ring guys, yeah, so probably not what I'm thinking about. There's Gandalf. Shire. Yeah, it's very nice. If you're flying to, I think it's Orlando, KMCO, then you get all the Disney characters because that's obviously where Disney is. So the guys had a lot of fun setting up these things. Right, so let's pull that out of the way. This is all done, and we will use, what can we use for alternate? KMCN. Well, I don't have a tutorial yet, but the more me and the Zibo team guys work together, the more we're talking about setting ourselves the task of creating proper tutorials. I will continue on my channel as usual, and I will look into doing a tutorial. But having a real world 737 pilot as a mentor has actually opened my eyes so drastically in the last 2 weeks. It's not funny. Um, I need a bit of time to just get my ducks in a row. I do not currently know of a good tutorial, to be quite honest. You're welcome to search on Google for it. But what I can do during my flight, like this, please remind me to talk to you about the charts. Then we can just incorporate it while you're sitting here, if that's okay with you. We can talk about a couple of things. Ask questions. I think that's the easiest thing. Ask me what you want to know. I can give you an overview and then you can ask questions. Maybe that's a good idea. How do you guys feel about that? Awesome. Right, so what we need to do is we need to set up our performance information now. Exactly. Alright, so let's just check our weather here. It was interesting last night. Cloudybox asked us how many guys can actually read a METAR. And I'm okay up until there where it says remark. But I've never really bothered to read the rest because it was Greek to me. I never thought it would have any real bearing because that's the crux of the matter. So, um, excellent, Paul. Excellent. Yeah. The TAFs we're not going to do right now. I still need to get my ducks in a row with that. But let's quickly talk about the METAR here. So we obviously looking at the METAR, your first four characters, good morning. Your first four characters, KTPA, that's your designator for the airport, the ICAO designator. It's Tampa. The next couple of characters tells you the day of the month and the Zulu time at which the METAR was recorded. So it's the 15th of the month and 0653 Zulu. This METAR was recorded. So you can obviously check if that thing is out of date. If that thing is more than 2-3 hours old, it's rubbish. You can't really use it and you need to look for a new one. In actual fact, I think they're supposed to update it every half an hour to every 45 minutes, something like that. So that's that section. Then we've got the winds. The winds are telling us 040 at 4 knots. Let's get the T in there. Alright, so that's our wind section. Aircraft always fly into the wind, so you need to make sure that you understand how that works because that's where you choose your runway from. Alright. Then we've got the visibility on the ground, and it tells us we've got 10 statute miles visibility. In other words, it's VFR. We are able to fly visual flight rules if we wanted to. Then it tells us we've got a few clouds at 12,000 feet. So that's cool. It's like a fair day. All right. It tells us the current temperature in Celsius. It's 25 degrees Celsius. And it gives us a dew point, which is 22. Now, generally, when those two match, or the dew point surpasses the temperature, you've got rain, you've got precipitation. So that's one way of quickly finding out how much humidity you have, and that humidity is high. All right. So 25 is temperature, 22 is dew point. That's the temperature at which we are going to get rain. So if that 25 drops to 22 or the 22 rises, either or, we're going to get rain. Right, that is our altimeter setting. Now, for the guys in the US, they don't talk about QNH, they talk about altimeter. It's just one small change. So, using inches, you're going to set your altimeter at 3007 to give you the proper altitude. Then we've got the remark. It tells us that the weather station is an AO2 weather station. Now, Cloudy gave us the explanation last night. You get AO1, AO2, 3, 4, whatever. AO2 is capable of detecting rain. All right, so in my mind, that's the better kind of a weather station. So you know when that thing tells you there's rain, there's rain. The one he said last night, I think it was AO4, is incapable of detecting rain. So even if there is rain, it won't tell you. It's incapable of telling you. All right. I cannot remember what the SLP stands for, but this is a neat trick. Basically, that number over there, 182, what you do for us guys in Europe flying on the ICAO JAR system, um, we add 10. So the QNH for us guys this side is now 1018 decimal 2. That's what that means. I never knew that. That is so cool because now you don't have to use a calculator to get from 3007 to the actual millibars. You just add a 10 in the front and you've got 1018. There you go. Problem solved. Then this is the temperature in greater detail. All right, so it's 0.25 and then 22 decimal 2 is the dew point. So I don't know how many of you guys knew that. I didn't know that. I learned that last night. He taught us last night. So it's 25 degrees and 22 decimal 2 on the dew point. Alden, you're asking me a tough question. If we have to add, uh, um, okay, you're doing it from the other side. That's why it's not working and not computing in my mind. Okay, so basically, that will be your SLP will probably be 00998. Okay, sorry, I had to think very quickly. I'm guessing, so don't hold me to it, but from what I look at the actual description there, you'll probably have a 0998. It'll probably be 0998. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. I'll have to get back to you on that one, but it just looks like that, so feels right. Don't know. Okay, don't hold me to it. Sorry, I'm second guessing myself now. You're not a pain, my friend. It's a good question. Yeah, this is how we learn. Okay. I've said it a long time ago. My channel isn't here to pretend. Okay, I'm not a pretender. I'm not gonna sit here and give you one hell of a big show. And put up pretense. We want to keep it real. If I don't know something, I'll tell you and we'll find it. George, okay, so how did you get 998 will be 24? Um, how do you get that? Because in my mind, 998 is going to literally be where it says 182. So the SLP might be a 0998 or just a 998. Yeah, you see, that sounds better. That sounds better, George. But Alden, if I can remember, I shall find out for you. That's a very good question. Please feel free to ask. And no, you're not a pain. It's amazing. We need to help each other. We need to learn. So we'll find that out. Okay, so last mention of this is if the altimeter is 2947, the SLP will then be something with a 998. Okay, I think that makes sense, but I'm not sure exactly what. All right, all right, George, cool. Thank you so much. That helps. Then we'll accept that and settle with that then. Right. Okay. Let's calculate this thing. Apply. Landing. Right. So at Atlanta, we've got 150 and 7:52 Zulu was the recording time. We've got 140 at 5 knots, 10 miles visibility, few clouds at 20,000, few clouds at 25:18, so it's a bit colder. We've got 3015, and then the SLP is 201, so 1020. All right. There is no rain, so we don't have to change any conditions on the landing. All we're going to do is change the flaps, because we always, well, usually, not always, land flaps 30. And then we're going to apply and make sure we've got the right flight altitude. We've got flight level 340. That's perfect. And then release the flight. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. I can always count on you for doing that research. Thank you so much. Sea level pressure. That's exactly what Claudia said as well. Right, so what we're going to do is print this thing out to a PDF format so I can actually have it. And this takes a little bit of time. While it's thinking, I think what I need to do is I need to actually start explain so long. Right, and I've just exported. Alden, yes, on occasion we did a nice group flight last night on VATSIM, but I'm not expecting myself to fly on VATSIM this morning. We do have a Zibo group flight planned for 1700 Zulu tonight, and Cloudybox will be with us representing the Zibo development team again. So if you would like to join us, you're more than welcome. Yeah, me and John are. Paul, if you want to join us, please come join us. Oh yes, you know what? I need to get you guys the new link. Something went wrong yesterday and it destroyed the link for for Discord. I've put it on Facebook again, so let me grab it quickly, and then you guys can come and join us. Yeah, 1700 Zulu. We're going to fly from Atlanta to Tampa. We've got a whole bunch of real world guys, ex-US Air Force real world operators for various different airliners, real world guys, then all the summer guys, and then at least Cloudy from the Zibo team will be there as well. So we're going to make a big jowl of it. Let me just grab
But
you
it
this
will be a fun flight. It won't be a
tutorial. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. You're not a situation where asking millions and millions of questions. It's fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Uncle John. Here is the Discord link. Please tell me if it's stopped working again. When I create it, I specifically and explicitly tell it not to expire and to have unlimited use. But yesterday it died. I don't know why. So this is a new one. Please keep me informed and tell me if it works or does not work. And we'll keep a lookout out for you guys. And like I said, any of you, you're welcome to join us on Discord here. A couple of rules, obviously. Push to talk needs to be enabled if you come live on air. And also, we ask for proper respect and we want, on topic things. We don't want to talk about things that are not relevant while we are streaming. Once we go off the stream, we can just be ourselves and, enjoy the rest of the talk.
Respect is paramount.
Yes. Right, so let's see, where are we going to start up? We need to go to KTPA. What on earth did we say is that takeoff runway? 01 right. Okay, I don't want to taxi too far, so let's go close enough. A9. Okay, but that doesn't look right to me at all. That's fine. That's fine. We'll start there. The problem is with Navigraph. I never changed this. I need to change the Navigraph runway that we take off from. There we go. Now Navigraph is in sync. Okay, that's why it looked funny. Okay, Alden, your rights have been assigned. Yoki, I'm going to do yours just now. Right, okay, you guys have got your rights. So what you need to do is come to the Skymatics FBO if you want to come on stream with us. And once I see you guys are in the FBO, I'll drag you into live on air if you want to. Otherwise, you can just sit and chat there. No problem, no pressure.
But please set up push to talk.
Well, they can't talk in this room if push to talk's not set up. But I'm not going to bend the rules. The only guy I bend the rules for is Cloudybox. That's the only guy that I will allow, to bypass the push to talk because he can't work with it. He doesn't like it. So again, it's about respect. Where did you log in, George? I do not see you anywhere on this Discord server. You need to click somewhere so I can see you. You need to come to the Skymatics FBO. By the way, George, I have changed all the permissions on the server. I made a lot of changes because of the Zibo guys coming in and getting involved, and but I just checked. You have all the correct rights. I can see you are online in Discord. Oh, there you go. You're in the Zibo FBO. Hold on, I'll drag you. All right, now you just need to set up your push to talk. Use your control or shift buttons. They respond the best. Paul, even so, you are welcome to join us. We don't mind speaking in chat on Discord. Even so, you are welcome to join us. And we've got a Skymatics chat room. As long as we know that you are on text, then we can obviously follow you on there. Right, so that's it. Okay, we one step closer to pension already. So let's get going on the bird. This controller in New York last night did not like the way that I did my pushback. And for the life of me, I went back and I had a look again. There's not really any other place I could have really pushed back to. Maybe I went a little bit too far in these books, but I mean, it is what it is. All right.
All right, Captain, got the directions. Let me know through the menu when you're ready.
Okay, so this is now version 3.13. First time I'm going to fly it since it was released yesterday. George, we did. We streamed it on Twitch, so you can go have a look there. It was okay to a certain point. There was a lot of fighting as well going on, but overall, I think the points that were made were valid. We had fun. We had all kinds of situations happen there, but it's on Twitch. When we do flights like that, I just feel more comfortable having it on Twitch because in 14 days the flight gets deleted. So if anything bad happens, I don't have to have a void in YouTube. With the flight gone missing, it just disappears on Twitch. Guys, and another thing that you guys need to be aware of, until such time as Zibo says differently, there's a setting here that you guys really need to pay attention to. I'll show you when we get there. So under general, you've got your page 1 and then you've got page 2. Zibo has introduced a new thing called read altitude speed from import FMS file. Alright. In the previous versions, by default, it was set to on. The moment that thing goes to on, you lose your top of descent, you get all kinds of weird altitude restrictions, VNAV doesn't work properly. It's a whole story, not because so much of it being a bug. It's a bug to a certain extent, okay? But and he's obviously working to fix it if he hasn't fixed it already. But for our purposes and the way that we fly it, it always goes to off because you don't need the rest. It's like it's not applicable to us. So just bear that in mind when you fly the Zibo again in the new versions. That thing must be off. Otherwise, it's not going to perform the way you think it should perform, and then you're not going to be happy. Right. Another thing that I did was, sorry about the noise in the background. Another thing I did was I started using the axis, the levers now for my speed brake and for my flaps and things. And this has proven a hell of a challenge. You guys will see when I try and taxi with my tiller, it's not that easy. I am used to flying with my rudder pedals and I'm forcing myself to learn how to use this tiller because it's just over the top, way weird for me right now. So just bear with me and don't laugh too much. Yeah, John, you keep on asking me. This is the 4th day you're asking for tipics. I'm sorry. My daughter will be home later this morning, and then I'll ask her what she did with my tipics, and then I can go put my little mark where the center is for this tiller. So. George, yes, that is exactly why you couldn't use it. What happens is when that setting is active, it will look at your altitude restrictions in the descent leg already and enforce it in the climb leg already, and that's why it just stops you. I had it stop me yesterday once at 17,000 foot and the other time at 26,000 foot during our tests. We were running different routes to see, the different things. And the funny thing is, a lot of guys say, "Oh no, we didn't have a problem." Yeah, sure, it's okay. You didn't have a route with a restriction. So there's a reason why some guys get it and some guys don't get it. And so the answer is, in short, is to switch off that thing until it is working as it should be properly, and until you use an actual FMS flight plan that includes all the data in the right place, it's not going to work for you. So why bother with it? Just switch it off. All right, so let's get this baby going further. Also, guys, the other thing is Zibo has locked his mods down even more now. I had it in the week and I did publish it on all the Facebook groups where it was necessary to put it. If you have a livery that includes any elements, that could be an object or anything, any element that would clash with the Zibo original elements, it's going to remove your magenta line and it's going to prevent you from getting duct pressure. So apart from having a proper working C++ redistributable 2017, the lockdown is now also affecting the textures in your liveries or the objects that are in a clash configuration with Zibo. You are not allowed to modify the Zibo anymore. You are not allowed to use any elements that conflicts with Zibo. And I had it in my schematics livery, believe it or not, and I had to get rid of some of the stuff there, that were clashing with my ground power unit, and I couldn't get the magenta line or the duct pressure working until I did that. So bear that in mind as well, please. Okay, guys, if there is a little bit of screen tearing happening while I pan around, it's because of the way the capture software works when I capture the actual display. I'm capturing not the game, I'm capturing the display, because if I don't do it, you guys will not be able to see this. So there's a reason for the tearing. I'll switch it off before we take off so that we don't have the issue in the air. But yeah, just bear that in mind too. Paul, default liveries are made by AudioBird, so they are 100% safe. The AXP ones that comes with Zibo is made by AudioBird. And AudioBird is responsible for a lot of the modeling and stuff that happened in this aircraft. So he's obviously part of the team, and his stuff is perfect. It's okay. I don't have an issue with that. Guys, and for those of you that have not downloaded my latest checklist, I've obviously revamped it completely. It's in a totally different format, and I'll put it on screen here for you guys as well. If you want it, please go to my private hangar link in the show notes below the video, and just browse to the Explain 11 Zibo folder and grab the checklist. It is there, and I've purposefully designed it as a teaching tool, so it's got a line by line, step by step configuration, and you can't really miss anything there. I will tell you just now. The version number, I'll put it on here for you. There you go, George. It is version C002 of the 29th of May 2019. Instead of making it in Google Sheets, I made this in Google Docs, so it's more like a Word document format. And I've added a couple of things. I'm continuously adding, and because of my relationship now with the real world pilots, Cloudy specifically, he's constantly changing things that I've put in here because he says it's not how it's done in the real world, bottom line. So it's not major changes. I mean, this checklist is perfect. You can learn from it, you can get the flows right, but he's got like one or two little real world quirky things that I'm busy incorporating in here. Obviously, because I want to fly more like a real pilot than a sim pilot, and it makes me feel good to have it and getting the instruction from him. So I'll update this as things go on, but there's no reason why you can't use it. This is a perfect checklist, really. I mean, there's a couple of things like let's start at the beginning. I actually go into detail and I tell you to look at your flight plan to get the company route, to check if you've got the charts and to pre-file on the network if you're flying VATSIM. But look at this. Where we've got the advanced stuff, I always mark it as being optional. You'll see through the whole system. So instead of having a basic and an advanced checklist, I've got one checklist, but it actually, it's in a different color font. When it's optional, and it says optional. So I mean, you don't have to come and open this gear and check that you've got the manual gear levers in the right place, and you don't have to check the ELT that it's in the correct guarded position and that the thing didn't activate. But it's there for the guys who want to. I mean, first flight of the day. This is also typically not something the pilot does. This is really something that ground crew would do. Fire extinguishers, the basic stuff. It's for us flight simmers to just enjoy the sim a little bit more, but it's not necessarily something that the guy would do in the real world. I'm going to try and minimize this. Can you guys still read it when it's like this? I just want to move it slightly out of the way so I don't block the whole screen, but I would love you guys to be able to follow with me, so I'm going to put it like that. Shout if it's a problem for you guys, okay? I'm going to lock it into position there.
That's fine, Nico.
All right, okay. So let's go back up. There's our ELT light. The warning light. There's the guard. It's all down. You don't need to do things like that. Obviously, let's see where you can see it. There's the extinguisher, and we can then go and check our oxygen. Check it this side, check it that side. Alright, then I just sat in and I started thinking about things logically. What do you do first? Obviously I have to open the doors. People need to come in. You need to call the ground services. I actually think I forgot to do that. Let's get them going. Alright, we've started the service cruise on the tablet. We've got ground power connected. We've got the chocks in place. Pushback is pre-planned, and now we need to do the weights and stuff. So this is where this baby comes in. George, I'm glad, George Carney, I'm glad you are here. I want to tell you a couple of things. I want to show you this. I've reworked my OFP because of the conversation that you and I had on WhatsApp a while ago. Instead of rounding the values in PFPX, I've actually changed the values to show you the full number. Because one of the things that we've been getting and the complaints is that what we see on the OFP is not what is available on the tablet. Then while I was speaking to my good friend Cloudy, I realized something else. When we look at the tablet and we look at the payload, it's actually asking us the ramp weight. It's asking us the payload at this position where we're standing on at the ramp. All right, that's a better way of putting it. So we are going to carry 18.2 tons. Right, there it's loaded. You saw the aircraft sank a little bit. All right. Our zero fuel weight is very close, so let's quickly change our fuel there, 6.8. Right, and now our takeoff weight is supposed to be 66.4. but I want to show you something. All right, now you see today the rounding is now spot on. It's perfect. But what we found is if we do the rounding in PFPX, all right, if we do the rounding there, we usually get like 100 kilograms or 200 kilograms more in the takeoff weight, because the payload, the zero fuel weight, and the fuel, those weights are at the ramp here where we are standing now. But that takeoff weight is actually measured at the time when you get onto the runway. It's literally at the threshold of the runway. That weight over there needs to be a little bit more, because currently where we are standing at this point, it needs to be more because it includes the taxi fuel. So what's going to happen is now you've got two situations. You've got the whole bunch is at the ramp, but that's actually at the threshold. All right, and if it's more, it's usually the fuel. It's just the taxi fuel that's more there, because it's measured at two different places. And it took me a while to understand the difference and why there's a difference. And while I'm talking, it just the penny dropped, and I realized TOW is takeoff weight. That's measured in a different place than it's measured over there. So if you put your ramp fuel in there, your block fuel in there, and that thing is more, it's just simply showing you at this point at the ramp, you've got some taxi fuel extra. That's all. I hope that makes sense. All right, so that's close enough. Oh yes, and then in the real world, one of the arguments given by the real 737 pilot is you are allowed, he was saying something like 500-pound discrepancy. All right, the aircraft is allowed to take off, and he basically said to me I shouldn't split hairs because I'm getting too technical. All right, so I hope that also means something to you guys. We don't want to split hairs. If it's close enough, it's good enough. Good morning, Kevin. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Alright, so I'm going to close that off. We're done with that. IRSs have been done, so let's go back to the checklist. This is all the normal things. The one thing I never put in here, when you do your parking brake, the levers, and check all of these ones over here, you're supposed to also test the takeoff config horn, and what you do is you push it forward. There's the takeoff config horn. Right, and then you just pull it back. So this is something that I've added in the new version that I haven't released yet. So for the guys who want to go the extra line, that's a step that needs to be put in here. All right, the battery and the stuff, we've already done that. Most of the lights have been done except for the wheel well and our why is that on? Interesting. Anti-collision should be off. I must have pressed it earlier, sorry. Alright, so we've got the logo light on, it's night. We've got the strobe and position light is set to steady, and then the wheel well is on. Alan, you're welcome. You're welcome. If you need more, ask. You know, I'd like to teach you guys as much as possible, and as I'm getting taught by the real guys, you know, I love sharing it with you guys again. And because I fiddled with my beacon light, all the doors just closed, so let me just open that again. Right, okay, we're back. Right, so if you guys follow the checklist line by line, it's going to tell you, you know, what to do, when to do it. My IRS I've already done. At this point in time, we can stop our service and start loading the packs. Ryan, it's very easy. Type in Google. I'll type it for you. Google jar design ground handling deluxe. That's it. That's the easiest way to find it quick. Alright, so now one of the triggers that we're waiting for is we need to know when the law enforcement officer is on board, because then we can do our welcome announcement. And part of why, I think I missed it already, part of why I create my checklist to run in the sequence it does is to obviously fit in with AudioBird's Fmod. You understand? It will trigger what needs to be triggered, and there's the woman. She just said it. Okay. So part of the whole story of the checklist is to just fit in with, you know, the illusion. So there you go. Now we can say welcome.
One.
Right, so now that is done. That was the yellow mark there. We can actually now, this again, this is recommended but optional. For the guys flying the virtual airlines, especially on VAMSIS, there's a requirement that you have to sit on the ground for 20 minutes minimum before you can push and start, you know, because otherwise you just don't get the points for the virtual airline. So what is nice to do is obviously press a whole bunch of buttons now. Okay, John, we'll see you just now. Hello, Albapino. So again, this is optional, but I mean, it sounds cool and it looks. Let me move my screen. Sorry. Sounds cool and it looks cool to just, you know, do a couple of button presses and get bells to ring and things like that. This is the APU test. This is the engine fire test when the bells ring. On this side, this is your fire extinguishing bottles. The one is for the APU and the one is for the engines. So you can check if that's working. Albapino, yes, this is version 3.13, the latest one. So brand new out of the box this morning, for me at least. That's our cargo fire test that we do, and if you want to do the TCAS test, you press and hold the button to the left.
Adjust vertical speed. Adjust. Climb. Climb now. Climb. Climb now. Climb. Crossing. Climb. Climb. Crossing. Climb. 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 Clear of conflict. Descend. 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 Crossing. Descend. Descend. Crossing. Descend. Descend. Descend now. Descend. Descend now. Increase climb. Increase climb. Increase descent. Increase descent. Maintain vertical speed. Maintain. Maintain vertical speed. Crossing. Maintain. Monitor vertical speed. TCAS test. Pass.
Oh, Albapino, sorry, I don't allow any links in my streams unless special permission is given or you ask me to share a link. Most guys have got the link to the Zibo already. If you want me to post it, I'll gladly post it for you. But you are right, the complete package is available. This is the complete one now from Zibo, so you don't need to fiddle with the default one anymore and all the other nonsense that goes with that. Alright, so typically when we fly for the VA, what I usually do is I will enable your elapsed timer over there. at this point, because that will also give us the 20-minute indication. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, so from here on, I can then watch it, and then when we do the pushback, I go to the chronometer as usual. Typically, your first officer will use his side to time the engines for the startup and things like that, so we'll skip that for now. If you want to press more buttons that look cool, you can obviously do all your FMC tests, and you can check this. You can have some nice lights flickering, and this is the way to check all the light bulbs, you know, to make sure that all the LEDs or the bulbs or something are not broken. So each and every light that can go on is now on, and you can literally scan through the system to see if you've got any dead digits. And you can also dim this. You see all the lights have dimmed. I'll just leave them as usual. Alright, some more optional stuff. I'm just enjoying myself right now, guys. If I'm going too slow, please tell me to hurry up, then we get going faster, but I'm just showing you quickly a couple of things. If you look at the top here, this is your voice recorder. You can test it by switching it off, dropping the card again. This is for the overspeed warning. This is your stall warning. And basically activates the stick shaker as well. There you can check your flaps warning. I won't go into much detail with that, it's not really necessary. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of lights. If you just scan over it, you can see there's no warning lights on here, so we don't get it's done. We can move on. Alright, the next section is for the online pilots. You can obviously use that as a guide when to start speaking, and then we get to the actual FMC programming portion of things. Alright, what is important is we need to make sure we've got the actual correct aircraft. It's silly in a flight simulator, but in real world, anything can go wrong. You know, I mean, this thing, the wrong techie works on this thing and it just breaks it. So we've got our thrust rating, and we can see that our nav data is in order. Then we come to one of the important things that the real world guys know that us simmers don't know. So I'm going to share it with you as well, because I love sharing it. Any dotted line is not a requirement. Any block, open block like that, the little square, that is life and death required. You cannot use the aircraft if you don't fill that in. So we actually don't need to put the reference airport. We don't need to put the gate, because everything is about GPSL. Your left GPS is the master GPS, the right one is the slave. So everything you do is dependent on GPSL. And all we do is we're then going to enter the coordinates, and you'll see it's obviously been aligned, everything is in place. Did you guys actually see that, or did I block it? No, you did see it. Okay, let me move this Adobe quickly to the other side now, because a lot of things are going to happen this side. Alright, okay. So once that is in, hello gaming gamer, welcome to the stream, sir. Alright, let's go to our route. So what the learned guys tell me is over here we're going to put in our origin airport and our destination. Alright, what we are then going to do is, I'm going to go back to our flight plan. We are going to enter our flight number. Now on my checklist, because it's a training checklist, I want to specify that again. We do things a little bit differently. We use the actual company route to import it that you get from Sceneries or PFPX, wherever you make your route. Navigator, what's that little nav map? But what I was told is, again, that's little dotted lines. You don't have to enter anything in there. If you're using a company route, you are bound. You have to do it. All right, there's no getting around that. But basically what happens right now is you start with your departure. So our departure says we're going to use 01 right, and you type it as you fly. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to enter the SID. I'm going to go back to the route page, go to page 2. Then from over here we can see after Lenson we go Armory, however you want to pronounce that. We're going to go direct Armory, then we're going to use Quebec 110 Airway, and then we're going to use Dawn. And guys, it's very important, you need to make sure of your spelling. You can't be dyslexic here, you're going to come second. You then rather use an import route. Then we go to Beyond. Alright, and then we're going to go to our arrival, where we're going to use Gandalf, Beyond Transition, and we said we're going to use 09 left. Let's go for that RNAV. Missed it. RNAV 09 left. And where's my Navigraph charts quickly? What was that transition? We said it was one of those two, I can't remember. Rain. Right, and then we're going to switch our glide slope on. We're going to basically use our approach button. We're going to go press that as if we're going to do an ILS. So we need all of these things on. Alright, so we can go back to the route page and just look through it, and obviously now activate, execute, and then go to the Lex page, and we can decide either we're going to fly the vectors or we can remove the vectors. In this instance I would rather leave the vector and vector myself, because the SID starts 180 degrees behind me, behind my back. So if you take away that vector right now, where's that SID? Let's go back there quickly, show you guys. If we're going to take off on that runway, we need to turn around. If you make it a direct 2 from that point, or even from the runway, the Zibo is not going to make it. It's going to bomb out. It's no aircraft in real world is going to make that turn. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's not on an intercept path. So in this instance, we're going to leave that. And we can then go to our map view and step through and make sure that we don't have any other issues that can hamper this flight. So right, actually, you know what, I've just realized I got confused earlier. If you guys can remember, we're going to take off 01 right, so we are going to fly straight out and then turn left. We are actually not flying down. That was in the previous flight, and the way that my Navigraph was set up, that's where the confusion comes in. So we're going to fly up, then turn left. In this instance, you can actually remove the vector, because you're going to take off and then turn. So let's do that. Let us do that. Alright, so we execute. There you go. So if we zoom in now, you can see you're going to take off, then turn left. Okay, it's going to be in my mind still better to use a heading select and vector myself just properly, but I'm pretty sure you're probably going to get away with using it that way on LNAV. So I'm going to vector myself just to make it proper. Alright, so let's step through. That's a very nice approach, and then we're going to get vectors there at the end again, I see. Alright, so in this instance we can remove the vectors. Right, so it's going to be a tight turn at the end then if it doesn't work out. The best thing to do is to be the pilot that you're supposed to be and just take control, vector yourself and put it into the right position. Paul, what do you mean? I'm trying to understand that you can't reach over with my mouse. What do you mean? Sorry, you got me there. So you mean you can't get it like from the side or something? You have to be straight on looking at it or something like that. Not sure. I'll wait for your response there. Right, guys, so a word of caution, when you've got a 90-degree angle like that, it's going to be very difficult for this aircraft to follow it. All right, so I would probably go back to vectors when we get there. It's a bit of an unrealistic turn, but at least, you know, the vectors are gone. So either or. Paul, I don't know, my friend. I've never had an issue like that. Do you use any specific camera add-on or something that would interfere? I don't know. I really don't know. I'll think about it. Let's do that. Let's think about it. Okay. So coming back to our FMC, once we're done with our legs, we click on the route page. We are now back in the route, and you'll obviously check it if you want, but we're done with it. Then we're going to the perf initialization page. All right. So here's another trick. Apparently, in the real world, they start from the bottom up. I always do it from the top up, but anyway, so we've got where's our sheet? Cost index, then we need reserves. Our reserves, hold a second, guys. Sorry guys, my daughter just came home and just greeted her. Alright, so the reserves we're going to use, George Carney, this is another thing that we've had a heavy debate on our side. I used to always only use the final reserves. That was what I used because I didn't want the warning light on the field to come up at some point in time when it wasn't necessary. So one of the arguments again came back to, on my previous OFP, we did not have all of the information that we have now. I actually added the hold fuel. I've actually added the extra fuel in there. So there's more information. Now having the right information present, it's easier to understand why we would use the actual recommended 1.9, and nothing is very sensitive. You've got to click very precisely. Alright, so we're going to use 1.9, and then we're going to click the zero fuel, and we can go back and verify we've got the correct values. And what's very important is that gross weight needs to be exactly the same as what you've got on your tablet. And guys, please do not come and change these values. You always enter the Zibo loads and stuff via the tablet. You do not enter it via the FMC. You're just going to stuff it up. If these things are not in sync with the tablet, the calculations won't work. Okay, so then back to our flight, we're going to use 3 tons. If you look at that value, it's 2982, so I'm just running it off to 3. And we said we're going to do then flight level 340. George, it's if you got that checklist from my private hangar, then that is the latest one. Where's my date here? I might have updated it again. Let's have a look quickly. Let's have a look. I didn't think I did the update. Zibo checklist. Alright, there you go. Yeah, I did. Sorry, my mistake. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I didn't realize I did make an update. So now that we've got the latest one here as well. Very interesting. You guys, I'm so busy, and my mind gets scattered sometimes. So forgive me for that. But there we go. It's done. That's going to be the next thing we need to look at. So let's just quickly minimize that. All right, again, this is optional, but your wins you can get from your AFP, so you can actually put the 269 at 13. It's optional, guys, again, but I like filling it in. It just makes me feel good. And then our ISA is a positive 7, so we're going to just add a 7. All right, but nobody can fault you if you skip this. It's all dotted lines. You cannot be faulted. So if you're lazy and you don't want to do it, don't do it. All right, outside air temperature, there's two ways of getting this. You can either read it from there, and you can then type it in. So you can put the / because we want it on the other side. And we can add 24. Exactly, George. Exactly. That's a good one, George Camp. Right, so we've put the outside air temperature in, guys. Without that, you're not going to get your flaps settings. The QRH won't work. So please make sure that you understand what the outside air temperature is for. And then if you don't read it from the top, you can just double click that button. Zibo graciously gave us a shortcut. You can just double click bind select key 1 there on the left, so it will put it in there for you. This brings us to another thing. Okay, you can use the templates as is at the bottom. All right, set them where you want it. That's going to be less thrust the lower down you go, and it's going to be a slower climb the lower down you go, and a faster climb the higher you go. What I do as a rule, and most people in the real world do require it anyway. There's tables, and the airlines give it to you, and then obviously as you fly between the different airports, you'll know when to use it, kind of a thing. It's a real world thing. For the simulator pilot, you don't really need it, but again, I'm just thorough, so I'm gonna add my 35 degrees in there, my SAL temperature. You see immediately the thrust changes because now there's a whole bunch of calculations that happen. In the real world, if you forget to do this properly, you can kill people. There are many dozens of documented Boeings and at different airports. Heathrow was the last big one where 777 almost crashed and killed everybody on board just because the pilots neglected to put this in. So optional but highly recommended, and I don't fly without it. So let's leave it at that. Then we go to our takeoff page. All right, we're going to use flaps 5. We're going to do the CG. All right, you see QRH is now giving us 141, 142, and 147. Look how cool the stopcat is. It actually gives me the appropriate values. Alright, so you've got one of two choices. You can either just click do that, or again in my hangar, my OneDrive link below the video, you can actually get the calculator that will work out your runway slope for you. You can add your runway heading, you can do the wind. If it's dry like we have now, we leave it on dry. Rain is wet, and that's for snow, so you can change those kind of things. All of these things are calculated and used by the Zibo. Alright, so it's not as if it does nothing. You don't need to do it because it's dotted lines, but it's highly recommended. In fact, while we are here, why don't we just do it? Let's just quickly do it. I'll show you guys how it works. Right, so this calculator you will find in my private hangar OneDrive. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the charts. let's move this one out of the way first. So let's recap quickly. We need the beginning of the runway elevation, we need the end of the runway elevation, and we need the runway length. Then let's bring this in. So we said we're going to use one right. All right. Elevation is there mentioned to us as being 18 feet. And this is all measured in feet, by the way, guys. And then on the other side of the runway, we've got 26 feet. Alright, and then we take the runway length is 8,300. And now the calculator shows us we need to input up 0.1. We're going to go U 0.1. Right, and it asks for the heading of the runway, which is 007. So we need to put the forward slash because we want it on the other side of that slash. 007. Right, and for the runway winds, we can just look at active sky and we can get it over there. Wrong button. So there's 030 at 5 knots. I'm just taking it from the meter there. Alright, and we go back to page 2 and we can now enter the values. There you go. Easy as that. George, now you're asking me another difficult question. The Larry boy, thank you so much. Thanks for the subscription there. I'll get back to you on that one, George. Right, okay. Now that we have this and we can go back to our checklist, what do we need to do next? The next thing that we need to do move it again a little bit. Alright, so we're going to get the yaw damper going. Then we're going to look at our fuel situation. Crossfeed off, fuel pumps all off. Then we're going to look at the cabin utility and in-flight entertainment switches. We're going to look at the equipment supply and stuff over there. Then we're going to switch on our seat belts. Alright, then I'm just going to quickly test, again optional for the simulator, but highly recommended to just give you a nice feel to it. So just test the window heaters and then switch them on. We're going to check that the pitot heats are off, and then we're going to press this little TAT test button for 5 seconds. If the pitot tubes are blocked, the alarm will sound. So we don't hear anything, so we know it's okay. All the anti-ice stuff is off. For the purposes of ground handling, and in the instance where your GPU keeps on disconnecting, I actually switched my electrical hydraulics on long time ago. I switched it on, in my initial checklist table already, just to make sure that I don't lose the ground handling guys and the GPU. It basically comes down to this. If your hydraulics are not pressured, your parking brake doesn't work. And the trigger to make the ground services and the GPU disappear is obviously the parking brake. So the way to energize it and to make sure that there's enough pressure to keep the handbrake basically on is just to enable that. It's much of a muchness in the sim. Alright, so what's next? Anti-ice. Engine hydraulics. Alright, you see, I've got it written there in yellow. If you're using the workaround, which this is the workaround, then obviously it's going to be on. It's supposed to be off, but it's now on. So, alright, at this point in time, we can then choose one of these two switches. We'll use that one, and there's a whole story behind that. And then we can energize the APU. Take about 5 seconds or so, and then we can just start it up. You just click and hold it for 3 or 4 seconds and then it goes. Right, so it takes about 35 seconds for that to start up. So we'll just give it a minute there. Guys, I hope you're not bored. I don't know why I started doing a tutorial style this morning. It just happened. So if you want me to hurry up, please tell me. Otherwise, I'm glad to just continue as we are. Alright, we can put the APU on the bus and then we can go and disconnect the GPU. We don't need the ground power unit anymore. Alright, then we're going to go back up to our panel at the top as the trim air switch goes on. Awesome, Paul. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the feedback. Alright, all of these little knobbies is where you need them to be. Then we're going to check the recirculation switches. Then we're going to test the overheating test button there. So you press and hold it until you get the lights and you let go. And once that is done, we can put the pack switches on auto. The isolation valve remains open, the engine bleed switches stay on and the APU bleed comes on, and there is our duct pressure. Albin, yes, I'll show you just now. We've actually done it already with the vectors, but I'll show you when we are in flight. I'll show you exactly how to do that. Well, I can actually show you now. Alright, George, thanks. Okay. Hey, Ferry, good morning. Man, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome to the stream. Right, so now that the passengers can breathe easy in the back and it's not stuffy anymore, we can set our cruising altitude, which is 340. And we just missed it. Right, our landing altitude, we need to quickly look at our charts again. Alright, our landing altitude, Atlanta, the airport elevation is 1,026 feet. You guys see there at the top. What we're going to do is we're going to go to 1,050. Well, you can use 1,000 or 1,050. I'll use 1,050. I'll move the camera a little bit so you can see. Yeah, George. Right, okay. Let's quickly talk about a couple of the basic things on the charts, just to give you guys some background information. Alright, usually, this is Jefferson charts, obviously, given to us. Welcome back, John. You want to come on stream? You're welcome. Just pop in. Obviously, I wanted to say something. Obviously, I think charts will differ between the Lufthansa charts and the Jefferson. So just remember, this is, you know, the Jefferson version that we get from Navigraph. Albin, why do you mean why not Twitch? I've got a standing arrangement. On a weekend, I use YouTube, and also for the important things, the stuff that I want to keep. The goofing around, the playing, the fighting, the loving, the rest, all the rest, goes onto Twitch, because Twitch doesn't keep the videos. It stays there for 14 days and Twitch removes them. On my YouTube channel, this is my pride and joy, and I tend to just do it that way. Right, okay, good. So the first little bit of basic information on the charts that's very important is always the elevation. Usually at the top left, as you guys can see over there. For flying online and real world, guys, those are all the frequencies. Flying online, it's easier to look at your VATSIM or IVAO client or whatever client that you're using to read it off here. Because if there's multiple ones, like in the departure, you don't know which one is used by the online network, so it's easier to just look on that side. Alright, then we looked at the runway designators already. It gives you the actual direction that you can put. So what we will do, actually let's do it now, is for runway 01 and for a successful takeoff, what we always do is we go and we set the runway heading 007. Alright, so that's our initial heading, and we get it from this area over there. So I show, sorry, there it comes on your screen. There's 7. I showed you the elevation that's indicated. There's the other side's elevation. There's the other side's direction. So 19 left has got a heading of 187. That is your runway length. The big number is feet, the small number is in meters. Right. In terms of us flight simmers, there's only one other thing. Just make sure you're using the right airport chart. Don't go and use the wrong airport chart, please. But that's like elementary. And for the rest, I just use this now to taxi. So we're going to push with our backside to the top. Then we're going to taxi probably in Alpha 12. And then just come all the way down with Charlie until we get to the end, Charlie 2 or Charlie 1, and then we'll do the takeoff. So that's what we use that one for. Now, this is your magnetic declination. So we can see that this airport has got a 5 degrees offset from true north. Alright, so that's where we get that from. Not much more I can tell you about this. In terms of our SID, also not much I can tell you about this one. I don't pretty much in the simulator bother with noise abatement procedures. I know a lot of guys that are hell-bent on it. They will not fly if it's not done by the book. I pretty much look at where it's going to, where I need to turn, and I rely on the FMC and the plan that I put in the legs list, and obviously my own vectoring. In this instance, we're going to take off up and then left, and then just make sure we get onto the actual SID. When you have ATC, obviously they're going to give you vectors. We had it yesterday leaving New York, and the guy gave us vectors up to 17,000 feet, from takeoff. So that was cool. Then we don't even worry about this. Alright, when we are in the air, and after I got some more coffee, because my mouth is now very dry, we'll talk about the ILS and the RNAV and the other charts. Alright. Yeah, we think alike. Okay, let's get back to our little checklist quickly. Make sure we still follow the plan there. Alright, so the APU and the pressurization and stuff is done, and the little Rottweilers are at it again. We'll ignore them, sorry guys. Alright, then we need to look at stabilizer trim 4.86. I don't go to the exact number. I always add 10 or 20, or let me put it this way, 0.10 or 0.2 or 0.3, just a little bit extra, just to make sure that we don't go nose down in the takeoff. So it's not much. You can't go more than 0.5, then it's it's silly because then you're going to get the nose up again. So you don't, you just want a unpressured takeoff. You know, there shouldn't be pressure on your stick or too much pressure. Just needs to be a nice smooth takeoff. Okay, then what we see here is we have a V2 of 147, and we can then go and set our 147. Alright, hang on, let's quickly stick back to the checklist so we don't do it way out of sequence. We need the auto brake to RTO, that's rejected takeoff. We need to have the flight director of the captain on first. Alright, that little light over there, MA, that's master. It means this one's master, and then we switch the FO flight director on twice. If you cannot get the LNAV and VNAV to work, and if it is a proper SID departure, not like this one, it's the guys usually forget to switch that one on, and that's why this thing doesn't work. So we've done that. We can switch VNAV on. We're going to use a heading select, and then we just set our altitude to 340. We're not going to do a step climb. No ATC, so we don't care. Alright, if you click LNAV, you'll see it's going to come on, but it's not going to go very far. So we're just going to leave it in heading mode as previously explained. Right, the next step is we're going to set the altimeter. The barrow needs to be set, so I need to get back. I can't remember the QNH or altimeter setting. That's 3007. And then we also do that on the standby. It would help if we put it in the right format. 3007. Alright, then what we're going to do, we're not bothered too much with the radios, you know, and there's reasons why we're not flying online, so this is pretty much standard. We missed something. Yes, the map display, our EFIS. We need to set the EFIS. So we're going to put it back on map display. I usually enable the data, so when you fly it tells you certain extra information. So that's what I do. For the rest I leave it as is. Right, we've already talked about the taxi briefing, so I consider that done. At this point in time we can now tell ground handling to shove off, go away, enjoy breakfast or something, because it's way early in the morning here. Right, we've done that. We can close the doors, and I'm using shortcuts, so that's why I don't go to that page, and we can visually check on the outside, or we can look on the overhead. I'm gonna do that, Paul. I'll do that. Hey, Jacob. Yeah, you better go sleep, buddy. If you want to fly with us later on this evening or early morning your time, you're gonna have to get some rest. Donkey. Right, okay, let's get back inside there. Alright, so on this panel over there, you can see there's no more lights on. That's your door panel. So we know all the doors are closed. Alright, then what we can do is we can call the better pushback truck. So, request pushback.
Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming.
Alright, so as he's driving up, the next couple of things need to happen. We need to check, see if we've got center fuel. No, we've got no fuel in center pumps, so center pumps stay off, but then we need to enable all the other pumps. Once that is done, this is obviously where we would have switched on the electrical hydraulic pumps, not required, and now we do the anti-collision light.
All right. Looks like the doors and hatches are closed, and we're ready to connect.
Alright, we're not going to bother with the de-icing, but you guys can see I made provision for de-icing as well as the conditions where to use it. And then we've got the engine start procedure with the APU. The lady's just come, given us the load sheet, closed the door. Then what we can do is put the isolation valve in auto and switch off the backs. Oh yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Toes connected, bypass pins inserted. Go and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you for the heads up. Alright, so we've done everything that we should do. Right, so the Delta Operations Manual says that in a US airport you need to switch on TARA. We're going to do that. We're going to release the parking brake and then we're going to start the chrono.
Line 'em up.
Alright, so there we go. Alright, then we're going to start engine number 1 first. The reason why we do engine number 1 first is because our tail goes right. And number 1 is going to be the furthest away from the terminal. And that's just the way it is. But I am going to switch off this display capture so that you guys don't get that shuddering on the screen. There you go. Now it's nice and smooth. Alright, that's engine 1. Let's do engine 2.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake. And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
Paul, I don't think it's a Zibo issue. I didn't make a big hoo-ha about it, but look, I mean, my frames have never changed. I have never investigated the facts, so I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I don't think it's a Zibo issue. I think the guys are trying to use settings that are not conducive to a proper flight simulator. They're trying to make a scenery simulator or something. I don't know. Like I said, never investigated it, so I don't know. I don't have issues.
And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the right. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Right, so I've switched off the wheel well lights there. We don't need that anymore. He's done. We'll wait for the pin. While we wait, we can do the flaps. There we go. Alright, so Paul, I spoke to Twixter a while ago, and one of the things he said to me is one of the benefits of going to C++, and getting rid of the XLua script that the aircraft was originally created in, is going to be to make it leaner and meaner and basically give us better frame rates as well. So if anything, the frame rates is supposed to actually increase with, Zibo's continued progress. I'm not sure where he's at in the process. Don't know, I haven't asked. So it might be that it's very close, or that it might take another couple of updates to get to a situation where we've got a proper C++ aircraft that's lean and mean. Right, so we're going to do our controller checks. Kick our rudder a little bit. And there's our tiller. So guys, this is where you need to laugh with me, not at me, if if it goes haywire. It's a trick. It's not easy to actually use this tiller. So let's see, let me get my chart on screen here. We can take away the Adobe for now.
Approaching 10.
Right, so I've been playing with the time there. I had to get my mind around that one quickly. It's 5:37 local time, so we should get a sunrise somewhere during the flight, I hope. George, no, not with Zibo. Zibo doesn't support the betas. It just creates a mess. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it just confuses the subject, really. Right, so here we are at the threshold. Now we need to look at doing this runway entry procedure, which in the Zibo includes using your wing anti-ice light so that we get the call. There you go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go switch the strobes on.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Right, landing lights and taxi lights. That looks beautiful. Wow. Alright, then what I would recommend is weather on the one side and terrain radar on the other side. But that's your discretion. You can do with it as you please. The last thing we do is we check the pressurization, that everything is fine. The last thing you want to do is suffocate and die on this flight. So that takes care of it. We can stow our bottom display there. There we go, bird scaring mode with these landing lights that pulsate, correct. And that means we are ready for takeoff.
Approaching 0-1 right.
Right, now the trick is to get this thing with this tiller perfectly aligned so we don't lose the runway when we toga. The rudders kick in very soon because of the amount of air moving over that tailplane, but you don't want to create a big problem for yourself if you can avoid it. Right, so that looks about center. Awesome, Ferry. This is 13, so if anything goes wrong, we shall find out about it just now. Yeah, John, yeah. She said she'll bring it. I asked her, she said she'll bring it, and it's not happened yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. Right, so what we're going to do is just give a little bit of power, go beyond 40%, and then hit toga. It's to get the tiller in the center position. On the CH throttle quadrant, I need to make a mark so I can see where center is. Because right now I'm guessing. Gear up. Command A, gear up and off, RTO off. There we go. Oh yeah, ferry, yeah. That's a well-known joke. There we go. There you have Tom Knutson's night lights, and the yellow ones at the back is the extended night lights. For those of you who are interested, it has made a tremendous difference in my simulator. I cannot fly without this anymore. This is like freaking awesome. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my turn to intercept that waypoint over there, and to just make it easy to get there, we're going to go to our legs page. So Albin, I was looking for your name there quickly. This is how you do it. Alright, I'm going to skip this ended and I'm going to go straight to Lanson. So what you do is you put Lanson in the scratch pad, you click on the little line select key, then you put it at the very top in your legs page, and then you execute. Right, then it removes that one and it takes you to the next one. At this point in time, you can now go LNAV and it will work because you are on an intercept heading anyway. So that's how you do it. I hope you understand, and I actually hope you're still here that you saw it. Ferry, as a matter of interest, yeah, before you run quickly, Tom said he's working on a new version of his night lights as well. But I'll just quickly get that for you guys as well. Paul, you can delete a waypoint, but then you're going to sit with a discontinuity. So then you do exactly the same procedure. You go to the next waypoint in line, you click on it, put it in the scratch pad, and then click on the empty line, and that will move it up, put it into position for you, because you can't fly with discontinuities. Guys, yeah, John, I'm quickly having breakfast, so I'm muting my mic a little bit. That's why I'm quiet. I'm starving.
2,000 to go.
Good morning, I'm Danny. Welcome to the stream. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to have you. Look at that. I was not even concentrating on it. I was saying earlier, I hope we get a good sunrise. Look at that. If you look that way, it's just dark. And then you do this. Wow. Better. Better. Very no. I've got X Vision with a vivid preset. So that's a Lua preset. Yeah. So yeah. But I don't have anything else. It's literally just X Vision with that one script. I actually use FS Enhancer's textures. I do not use the FS Enhancer Lua scripts because it's not really compatible with the new X-Plane. No, I forget his name. What a nice guy. Anyway, sorry about that. But the guy who makes it, I've spoken to him a few times. A very, very nice guy. He's busy making a new version, so I'll wait for the new version. There's no point in running old scripts. But I love his textures. So all I do is when I install FS Enhancer, I just go make sure I delete the scripts. But it's all his textures. Very nice, very nice. Okay, very cool. Why do you see the city so clear? I think it's the night lighting that I'm using. If you scroll a little bit up in the comments in the stream here, you can see the night lights that I'm using. And for the rest, maybe it's just my settings, AA settings or something. I'm not sure. That looks even better with the logo light on. Wow. Danny, all I can think of is make sure you've got the latest drivers, motherboard, VGA, everything, and then play with your display settings. I can't think of anything else that would create a problem. Impressive. Let's quickly see. How far are we now? 139 from top of descent. So at about 110. In actual fact, you know what? Let me quickly, Danny, you just need to do this. There's a command for it, and then you can check the specs. Let me do this. Let me quickly go and grab coffee, because I really need coffee now. I've been holding out for a while now. And when I come back, we can start the actual preparation for the descent, and then I can talk you guys through all the charts and everything as well. So give me a minute or 3, 5, and then I'll be back, and then we can do that.
Mic off.
Right, guys, I am back. Danny, the textures for the clouds are also included in FSN Answer. So this is what I'm using. You don't need to go and look for. It's all part of the package. You get your sky colors and your clouds. Everything comes with FSN Answer. Right, Yorkie, do yourself a favor, my friend. Download my checklist. I know it's daunting for some people and all, but just slog through it. Read it, repeat it, have it printed, let it lie next to you. I'm going to put it on the screen now as we work through it, and then you can see exactly the step-by-step situation. Danny, you don't need much performance for these clouds. These clouds are really good. Look, I've got a reasonable machine. You've seen my specs. I don't have real performance issues, even when it's horizon to horizon clouds. It really works well. FSN Answer is free, yes. The new one, version 0.6, is payware. 0.5 that I'm using is freeware. Just don't use the Lua scripts. You have to delete those Lua scripts. George, the volumetric clouds comes with Xenviro. It's going to cost you $70 to get it, and you're going to have one hell of a strong machine to run it, or you're going to sit with pixelated problems and stuff. Yorkie. Yeah, you know what's the best answer for that? 2 circuits. Doesn't matter what aircraft you take, if it's a Cessna 172 or this Boeing, just do circuits, fly around and around and around. It's boring as hell, but I tell you what, it's the only way that you can really learn to feel the aircraft and to put it where you want it. Wow, look at these colors. Right, so let's kill this AFK message, if I can find it. Right, so I think the first order of business is let's get our weather. Let me just grab a pen and paper first before we do that.
Kilo, Alpha, Tango, Lima, airport information, Quebec 0952, Zulu, weather, wind 145 at 3, visibility 10, sky condition, few clouds at 19,900, temperature 172.13, altimeter 3016, advise on initial contact, you have information, Quebec.
Right, so this is now
Kilo.
where the fun begins. Yeah, touch and goes, John, that's it. Good, so let's get the screen capture going again, the display capture. So sorry for the tearing. Let us get our charts. And I'm going to get the next calculator. I'm going to look at the ISA deviation calculator as well. So the first thing that we want to see is where we're going to land. So if we go to our airport chart and we recall what the weather is like, it says 145 at 3 knots. Now 5 knots and lower is considered wind calm. You can land on any runway. The Boeing 737-800 can land with a tailwind of 12 to 15 knots maximum from the back. So in real world, I've been in situations in that cockpit where I sat in the jump seat and the guys landed with like 10 or 12 knots tailwind, no problem. But they don't go over 15. In our flight simulator world, we teach the guys very specifically to make sure they take the right runway. So 145 at 3 means there's basically no wind. It's wind's very calm. All right. We have previously in our OFP selected during our flight planning phase that we are going to use. I just want to get it back on screen there. We're going to use, I wish this thing would just work easier. Come on. Atlanta 09 left. So that is Atlanta 09 left. What we are going to do is we're going to write down 95 degrees for the runway heading, because we're going to need that very shortly. Right, so that's very important. Then what we need is we need the airport elevation, which is 1026 feet. All right, very important. And then the first step after that is we're going to look at what is available for us in terms of an aid. So previously in our flight planning, we discovered that we've got an ILS and we've got RNAV. So we can use either or. Whether you use ILS or RNAV is irrelevant. What you need to look at is you need the approach course. All right, let's start with that one. So we're going to use 95. And we need to set that up on both of our course knobs. Alright, so that's 95. What we are going to do is we're going to use the ILS, and we're going to set up the ILS in a standby frequency. So over here we can see we've got 110.5. One 110.5, 110.5. Right, so that means our ILS is set up, but because we're going to try the RNAV first, and this one needs to be in standby, we're just going to flick it over, make sure it is really in standby. We don't want interference from any other ILS frequencies, so I've selected VOR type very high frequencies so that we don't get interference when we do the RNAV. Alright, then our next step is looking back at the chart and looking at our minimums. There are a couple of ways of doing it, so don't take this as gospel. This is literally me and how I fly it. If I fly on an ILS like we've got over here, what I will do is I will take this value. You see the ILS, the actual feather starts there, and it says 2,700 feet. So I'm going to dial my MCP down to 2,700. Alright, now the Boeing works that way. It's not like the Airbus where you need to press buttons. The moment you have that in place and your FMC is programmed correctly, this aircraft will actually descend automatically. So you're just going to sit back and relax. How far are we from the top of descent? We are 34 nautical miles. Okay. So it's very important before you reach the top of descent. Sorry, I'm just checking the passenger seats, seatbelt signs. It's very important that before you reach top of descent, you have to have a lower value. If you do not, it's not going to descend, and then you are stuck afterwards, and you're going to have to do a vertical speed or a altitude intervention or something, descent there, and we don't want to do things like that. Now, before we continue, on my CH quadrant, I need to pull back on my levers for the throttles, because otherwise it interferes with VNAV. So that's just why I've pulled back and why you guys see the actual throttle spooling back up. But we need to have VNAV in full control. Okay, the moment your hardware throttles or anything else interferes, it's going to be a stuff up. I am Danny. I have limited flight experience in the real world. Have some, but not much. Definitely not 737. I've been in the jump seat many times. I've been involved in flight simming all my life. I've even worked for a real world airline, and their flight simming requirements was part of what I had to take care of and stuff. So, and I obviously deal with many real world pilots, and I'm fortunate enough to have these guys in my life. So the guys obviously teach me and polish me and do things like that, which is why I know all these things. I've also got thousands and thousands of hours on this bird, and it's amazing. I still learn, and then we tweak it, you know. All right, so that was for the ILS. Let's quickly go back to the charts. Now, the next thing that you guys need to understand, and I'm going to give you the flight simmers answers. I'm not going to explain to you the difference between Cat 1, 2, and 3 and all these other funny things, because this is a flight simulator. Once, I listened to Cloudy Box yesterday, and he boggles my mind completely with all the if this then that and if this then not that kind of a way he talks, because obviously in the real world there are things that you can do and cannot do, and if it was not that way, you wouldn't have a Cat 1, a Cat 2, or a Cat 3. So with Cat 3 there's certain things you can and have to do, Cat 2 the same, and Cat 1 the same. For our intents and purposes, just being flight simulator pilots, I find it's good enough just to use the basics. So here's the basics. Your decision height is given to you here at the bottom of your chart. All right, the big number 1359, that is according to the barometer. That is your minimum, your decision height on the barometer. If you are using the radio altimeter to tell you what your minimums are, it is 340. The difference is on the barometer, that is a value that is above sea level. On the radio altimeter, that is a value above ground. All right, so that radio sends out the signal, it bounces back, it's much more accurate. Right, so when you go to Cat 2 and Cat 3, that becomes more important. On Cat 1, you're going to use that one. That much I can remember. All right, so for me and me being lazy, I usually just use 340. All right, but when you deal with the real world guys, they're going to say to you, this is not a Cat 2 or Cat 3 landing. You have to use 1359. All right. There's a couple of other things that are very important. Your transition altitude over here is very important. All right, you need to change from flight level to altitude, or altitude to flight level once you pass that. Otherwise, you're going to be on the wrong altitude and you can cause a mid-air collision. That's also a whole session in its own to explain to you the whole story about that, but I'll show you another trick. So remember, transition altitude is 18,000. All right. What is important about that transition altitude, and there's the top of descent starting now automatically. What has to happen is that standard STD on your primary flight display needs to turn yellow. Now, when you take off and you go through your transition altitude, the FMC has got the transition altitude or flight level programmed already for you. It's a given. But when you descend, it's not a given. On the descent, the pilot in command needs to tell the FMC where that level is. And what we do is basically this. You go to your FMC, and then you go to your descent page and you click forecast. And over there you have to type, that is mandatory for me, you have to type the transition flight level. If that value is incorrect or it's not there, then that standard will never go yellow, and you'll just descend and descend and descend and never realize you've gone through transition altitude and you were supposed to click standard already. Alright, George, why not? Let's use the Barrow today. It's 1359, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make it easier. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to switch there at the top. It's currently on radio, so we're switching to the Barrow, and then we're going to start spinning that wheel. 1359. Okay, I'm not going to add anything extra. This is just according to the chart, so you guys have got a point of reference. Okay. Idiot. must be so careful. I've got XP Realistic running in my system, and the whole cockpit moves, you know, and as it moves, my mouse goes off the line a little bit. 1, 3, 5, 9. All right, so that is our minimums. And later on, just before we land, you're going to see a little green bar come up there. And it's gonna first it's a white line, and then it's gonna have like a green triangle there showing exactly where that is, and where you need to decide, are you going to land or not. All right. The next thing that you need to do is you need to fill in the blanks. Okay, it's a nice to have. Again, remember the principle, it's all dotted lines. You don't have to do this, it's not required, but I like doing it. Why not, you know? So let me show you. And this is also why in the beginning we wrote everything down. We got all the information in the sequence that I just got it. So the airport elevation is 1026. The current temperature at the airport is reported as being 17 degrees Celsius. So our ISA deviation temperature is 4. So we're going to say 4, and we're going to populate that. We also know that our altimeter is 3016. And I made a mistake. You can't do that. You have to put the forward slash because it needs to go behind the line. 3016. So we're going to put 30. Oh yeah, there's another trick. When you're entering inches, you need to put a dot in between. So it's 30.16. Alright. That's it. There's the dot. Thank you, Ferry. I realized just as I pressed it. When you do millibars, I don't think you use a dot. I think I just type it in. Alright, so that's one thing. Then, coming to our Adobe. If we scroll down far enough, we will get the winds in the OFP. So it's basically, well, that last column. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 6, 1, 2, 3, because I mean we've already descended quite a bit. In actual fact, now there's where delete can come in. You see, now delete has got a job. Let's take 200. We might actually have passed it already, I don't know. We take 13,000 and we take 6,000. Alright, and then we go to 60 at 32. And we go 255 at 23. Oh, I actually used the wrong ones. 200 was 255 at 23. 23, sorry about that. And the next one is 252 at 15. 252 at 15. And the other one is 221 at 13. 221 at 13, and then we just execute that. Alright, then we go to our initialization reference page. Glide slope is still on, and for us we're going to take flaps 30. So we click it once, click it twice, and now it's got our VREF in place. We can go back to progress, and then we're going to look at something else here. Let me get rid of it, the Adobe there. Right, so when you look at your primary flight display, there you've got your reference set up for you. We know that the standard will go yellow, and we've got our minimums set up. Currently we are in an armed mode, so we are in control of our thrust levers. LNAV and VNAV is active, so everything is perfect. The weight loss predictions, that's a good comment, that one. Let's go back there. We are not that far away. If you get to finals and you come back to this page, you might have a difference of 1 knot. It's not going to be more than that. So, oh, and there the lady is moaning. And as we've gone through transition, it's now turned yellow. You guys see it because of that one line that we entered in there. So, Very, yeah, I'm not a real pilot. I can't exactly give you the technical terms. Come speak to Cloudy this afternoon, 1700, when he's online, and he'll give us more information regarding that. But I know from experience, the weight is going to change, the gross weight will change, and you will probably have a difference of 1 knot by the time you get to finals. So it's just, I just, yeah, yeah. No, I think I understand what you mean. So the fuel loss is going to change this value. It's going to definitely change this value. But the 1 or 2 knots that it changes, it won't be more than that. Is almost negligible. You can obviously change if you feel more comfortable with the procedure. Come do that later on. But for me, it's about time management. Just doing it at this point in time. Alright, I've just armed my speed brakes. I don't want to use them, but we've armed them for now. Let's see what happens. Right. Looking good. Nice sunrise. This is real time, by the way, guys. Nice sunrise approach here. Yeah, that guy, he knows his story, eh? You see now, you guys are lucky you have him on YouTube, but I've got Cloudy behind the scenes here. And I tell you what, that man means the world to me. So, here we go. Let's zoom in a little bit. What else do we need to do? Let's go back to our checklist. Alright, so in terms of the checklist, step by step again, everything is in here. Yeah, it's much of a muchness, my friend. Not something that should bother anybody. Right, so we've got here, obtain the landing ATIS, weather information, whatever. That's what we did first of all. Then we have to, that's one thing that I forgot. We have to set the altimeter setting in standby. So at this point in time, it's not going to be in standby anymore. It's going to be live 3016. What would have happened if we went to standard? Let's actually do that and change it. You see, it actually puts it at the bottom in white. So once you reach the yellow, you just click on the standard button and it goes where it should be. Right? So we're happy with that. Then the minimums were set, the nav 8 frequencies were done, the course headings were set, right, all the landing speeds, all these things were done, MCP was set, auto brake is set, no it's not, so we're going to use auto brake 1, it's a long runway, and we forgot the seatbelt signs, other way. Alright, so that, ladies and gentlemen, takes care of a couple of things. And at this point in time, we've gone through 10,000 feet. So I'm going to use my speed brake a little bit there to help brake, because we're not supposed to go over 250 knots when we are below 10,000 feet. Alright, the next step, according to the checklist, is obviously all of these little Magodis have to come on. I'm going to switch off our wing lights. We don't need that anymore. We don't need the logo lights anymore. That comes later, John. We're still a wee while out. No need to be sorry, my friend. It's a good one, that. Good reminder. I don't think there's a right and a wrong, John. I think that anybody with half a peanut brain understands at this point in time you need to prepare to land. I just worked it into the checklist. As you guys can see, that's part of my landing checklist. So I've already armed my speed brake and then I started using it. In actual fact, I can go back to arming it. We don't need it. We've already reached our target speed. So yeah, look, Ferry, that's all in the checklist. I didn't do the whole PA story. I mean, I should have done level out. I should have done the descent. I'll do the prepare for landing just for the hell of it. But that's the gimmicky stuff. It's not going to crash the aircraft or make people lodge a complaint against you kind of a thing. Ferry, you must check the flight we did yesterday on Twitch, the second last one. My active sky bombed out. I killed it through task manager and then I restarted it. It destroyed the Zibo and everybody had to use parachutes, my friend. It was burning like nobody's business. It got destroyed. Right, so now, if you guys can recall, at the beginning I said to you, we've got a 90-degree turn there. I think it's a bit much, to be quite honest. So what I'm going to do, just for my own mental state, is I'm just going to actually use heading select. I'm just going to position myself in a better position to intercept the ILS there. Well, you're welcome, my friend. I try and do what I can, eh? Right, so we're just vectoring ourselves in a better position. We're not going to use the flaps yet. We'll start using the flaps a little bit later. Alright, the runway turn off lights as required, anti-ice is required, landing gear comes later, and then we do the prepare for landing. But like I said, guys, there's no right and wrong. You can do prepare for landing right now. You can do it later on. Doesn't matter. I think your airline SOP will tell you when to say what. In all honesty, it's going to differ between airlines. Oh, and guys, the reason why it looks like the sim freezes every now and then is because I take a screenshot. When I take a screenshot with a built-in screenshot grabber in X-Plane, it annoys me, but it freezes a bit. Right, I'm going to try and vector myself as close as possible, and then we'll go back to the VNAV because it is an RNAV approach. We don't have the ILS set up. We can't use VLOC. It's not well, it's probably gonna look like it works, but I don't think it works because it's all satellite based. There's no VOR set up anyway, so this aircraft's not gonna respond according to what we think. Alright, we waited a little bit late there, but I see the aircraft's picked up on it, so it's turning a bit more. Right, so now we have all the course headings and the actual heading select, all of them in the right place. And what we can now do is we're going to enable the approach mode. Alright, so on the system over here, you see it looks like a normal ILS, but it's actually RNAV, so we're just gonna ride it in and the aircraft will follow it as usual. Now with RNAV, this is extremely important. You need to have the right altitude, the right waypoint and things like that. Otherwise this aircraft will never fly this RNAV approach. Right, so we're 20 nautical miles out. Well, there's the airport in front of us. I mean, we've got it visual. There it is already. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use flaps 1 to trigger the slowdown. I wanted flaps 1, uncle. Right, there you go. Alright, so it should start triggering the slowdown. It seems very slow, very slow. The next step is going to be to just throw out the landing gear when we get closer, because that's the best way to brake. To reduce the speed very fast. Right, so we're almost at 15. Guys, just a reminder for those of you that joined late, this afternoon, 1700 Zulu, well, whatever time it is for you, 1700 Zulu today, we are going to do a group flight, and we're going to fly from Atlanta to Tampa, so the opposite route of what we did today. We are going to have quite a few real-world pilots with us. And we're also going to have Cloudy Box, which is one of the Zibo development team guys physically with us. He's going to fly with us if everything goes well. And you guys are welcome to join us on VATSIM. So we're going to use VATSIM and just enjoy ourselves, you know, and then if you can make it, it will be nice to have you there as pilots today as well. It's not a training session, guys. We're there to have fun. We're not going to answer questions of this, that, and the other. Obviously there's going to be a meet and greet and everybody can have a nice chat and all these things, but we also need to fly, you know, so you're welcome. If you want to join us, you're welcome. Right, so I'm going to go get down so that we can start slowing down more properly here, because we're getting a bit close. John, for you. Ryan, don't be in a hurry, my friend. You will get to your age group as soon as you blink your eyes. It'll be done. Time flies, my friend. Time flies. I'm going to stream it anyway, so anybody that is not part of it will be able to follow us here on YouTube. And you're obviously welcome to just watch as well. If you are not a member of VATSIM and you cannot physically fly with us where we see you, there's nothing stopping you from flying the same flight offline, guys. As a matter of interest, please don't be shy. I mean, if you want to do the same flight, same time as us, you're welcome. All right, so let me show you something here quickly. There you see, there is all the relevant information stating that we are supposed to do something else now. And in this case, we have lost our vertical navigation and we are simply going to take over. I'm not sure why it lost the vertical navigation, because according to that, it actually says that everything should be fine from what my understanding is. So I've just taken over. I'll analyze it later and see what went wrong. But anyway. Ryan, it's the same flight as this one, it's just the opposite direction, so whatever the time is now, this is the time. This is how long it will take. I'm not sure why it lost that vertical navigation there, guys, sorry. I'll have to find out, go analyze it and see. Again, this is also one of those things, if you are the pilot in command, you need to do what you need to do, right?
Approaching 09 left.
I bet it was a silly mistake somewhere. I'm not sure what it was, but I bet. Right, so let's see if we can do a nice landing.
Approaching minimums. Minimums 300.
Exactly. Flight first and foremost.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Floating a bit. Exactly. We were talking about it with some of the real world guys in the week. More than one said to me how many times they lose certain automation and then they just have to take over. You know, it's one of those things. One of my concerns in the simulator is it could be a scenery error. It could be, you know, something related to that where one of the signals gets lost because of just bad design. It could be that I made a mistake. It would be interesting to go back, review it, and see if I did. It could be that I initiated the approach button while I was above the glide slope. If you do that, it won't take it. All right, so please remember that for your own flights as well. You have to have the glide slope a little bit above you, or you need to be on it. And if you slightly over it, it's not going to take. So that's more than likely something you know, that happens or happened here in my case. Anything can go wrong, guys. Yeah, Uncle John. Right, so we're going to switch off the landing lights. We're going to go to auto. We're going to go back to steady. We're going to start our APU. We're coming back to that one just now. Let's get rid of the weather and the terrain radars. Let's start that guy. Come now. Right, pitot tubes can come off. And then flaps are up already. Alright, then we're just gonna taxi somewhere and park. Okay, George. Check you later. I hope myself too. Bye bye for now. The Stiller. One day I'll get it right. I'm just gonna keep practicing. Ugh, you know what? Let's just go straight. Brake set, and let's get the APU on the bus. Then we can kill our engines. Alright, then we can switch off that light and I'll leave that one for now. Right, so that one can come on, off, and off. Right, so in terms of ground services, we can connect both of those guys, and then we can open those doors. Oh, I haven't terminated the flight leg yet. You have to make sure that you terminate the poor flight leg as well. Alright, there we go. Let's call our people now. That's it. Okay, I won't go to the full cold and dark again. Everything is in the checklist, the whole sequence, everything is there, which, what not, the whole story is there. So guys, I hope you grab yourselves a copy and familiarize yourself with some of it at least. Thank you for flying with me today. I'm gonna do a replay or two, so I'm gonna get rid of these guys and close my doors and just go again. And you guys are welcome to stick around or go do what you need to do. Let's get rid of that guy. Remove the chocks. George, that's splitting hairs again. I bet if you take the 30 seconds of taxi into consideration, I was close to 1 minute after, idle or going close to idle, so I'm not too worried about that. It's a simulator. In real world, we'll worry about things like that. Fantastic, Ferry. Hi, Harry, good day. It's a pleasure, Paul. Well, okay, as long as you find value in it, my friend, then I'm happy. I didn't start this day thinking that I was going to give a tutorial, I promise you that. Isn't that beautiful? Uncle John, look at that. My pleasure, George. Excellent, very excellent. Yeah, that's a very nice rendition. I want to tell you a quick story. That's the freeware version that's linked in the show notes below. Vertical is actually working on a brand new payware Tampa that is going to blow your minds. I've watched some of the work from him and his one associate working on those things, and wow, you will not believe what Tampa's going to look like. And I think it's not even going to be expensive. I mean, Vertical's um, scenery is not expensive and it's outstanding. I mean, that guy has got so much talent. It is amazing what that guy does. Well, I just realized something else. Somebody asked if 3.13 was a good model. I enjoyed this model. I didn't have any issues flying this plane. Wow. Awesome. Well, there I've just landed using 3.13, so I didn't do an auto land. And auto land is not something that I'm really interested in. You know, I've gone through all the pain and crap to actually learn, um, how to do it properly with a Zibo and all those things. But there's no fun in it for me. What was fun is when this RNAV decided to kick me in the butt and I had to take over and I had to land it manually. That was fun. I mean, my blood is pumping. You know, the heart rate's up and I'm sweating and enjoying it. That's what I like about the flight simming. I don't really care for auto landing. I see what you say. You've just landed using 3 point. Sorry, I misread that. Apologies. Well, guys, I think that's about it for me now. I need to go and rest and prepare for tonight's group flight. And like I said, you guys are all invited. It will be on VATSIM 1700 Zulu. We'll fly from this airport back to Tampa. That is the plan. And if you can make it, fantastic. Otherwise, on the stream, I'll definitely try and stream it. If the stream doesn't work, then tough, but I think it should. So we'll try our best to get it out to you so you guys can follow. Have a good rest of your Saturday, and bye bye, everybody. Thank you for making the time to come and visit. It's awesome to have you here. See you later, guys.